This is the voice of the report of the week, signing on. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW, the voice of the report of the week, a YouTube show, YouTube podcast, YouTube show, where I discuss the channel, matters pertinent thereto. I also read and respond to listener letters, and you can consider this a perhaps relaxing 1 to 3 hour piece, where you can know about the channel more, get to know the channel better, and even get to know the host a little bit better as well. So sit back, relax, and stay tuned to this latest program of VORW, the voice of the report of the week. I'm recording outside today. It's a Saturday, late July. Perhaps this will be up in late July, I would hope so, but if it's up in early August, please understand when I'm recording this. I'm recording it outside. It's late afternoon. And number one, first and foremost, I always make this assumption, and it's almost always incorrect in its nature, but it's something that I oftentimes feel is necessary to address. The sensitivity of this microphone, I think, is not as high as I oftentimes understand it to be. And sometimes I think it could also be the other way around. Sometimes I think I think, oh, it won't pick something up, and sure enough it does. I know some people like to do recordings and broadcasts and podcasts. I mean, you see it all the time, right? They got a nice kind of gaming setup that they're able to convert, and they got a $3,000 microphone and a soundproofed room with those, I mean, they're very neat, those little, kind of looks like little wood panels that are sticking out that's supposed to absorb all the ambient noise and acquire true silence. And I mean, they must have spent 10 grand on something just to do their podcast with. But I prefer simplicity, and also I, don't have that kind of money. I like recording it just with a simple setup outside, and I like having some of the ambient noise in the background there. Whatever it might be. It might be bugs making, their little noise. Could be just the wind. Could be cars and vehicles. Could be dogs barking, whatever it is. And I also like recording outside myself. It's a personal preference, but it's something that I enjoy doing, something that I have enjoyed doing, and something that I'll continue to enjoy doing. I like sitting out in the fresh air, doing a bit of recording, just kind of pacing around, lecturing, talking, etc. Sometimes some of the insects that you find in the background, though, they, to me, to my own ears, they can be a bit annoying. I believe these are perhaps cicadas or some sort of insect of similar nature. But they'll sometimes go in the background and they'll make this long droning noise, and I sometimes worry that it, affects the quality of this, that you'll be able to hear that more than you'll be able to hear me. But I think I have to remember that, I mean, I'm sure you can hear it in the background right now. I'm almost positive of that. And I imagine I can tweak the volume of things. I have this pretty close to my mouth anyway. And I don't think it's as big of a hindrance as, I imagine it to be, because I know the human ear is a lot more sensitive than this microphone is. But if you can hear it, I dearly apologize. I'll again, I won't know till I actually hear it in practice and kind of play back this recording and see how it is. But I'm just addressing it right now. I'm addressing things. I'm getting the cicada out of the room, and we're going from there. I know these bugs, they quiet down at night, but it's 4:50 p.m. right now. It's daylight. I got around 4 more hours to go till the sun even goes down, and I don't want to sit here for 4 hours, so I was feeling inspired to record now. Record I will, and we'll get past it. I'm keeping the microphone maybe a little closer to my mouth than usual, but we're just going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to get it taken care of, and and it'll be okay. I'm going to check to see if we're recording right now. Let's see if we're recording. Yes, we are. So I hope you're doing well. I know it's been a while. I hope you're doing well, though. I've got some updates for you. But at the immediate moment, I'm doing pretty good. I've been sitting here. I got my shortwave radio out. I was listening to Radio Marti. You can hear them very loud and clear. Very loud and clear, blasting in. So I was listening to them for a while today. And yeah, they're good programming. Sometimes I have some really good music shows that they air. Sometimes hit music, sometimes Cuban music. Sometimes a little bit of both. Sometimes I play some top 40 stuff, or even some hits of days past, and then they throw in a little Caribbean influence as well, and it's enjoyable. I like it. I like it no matter what. So, in today's show, I have a couple things to talk about. I have some updates with the YouTube channel. I have some announcements with the YouTube channel, and I'm going to go on about that for a while because I have some ground to cover here, so keep that in mind. And from there, we'll just see where things take us. Of course, I'm going to address shortwave radio as I usually like to, and then, well, no, I think we'll just read some letters, and that'll be that. So first off, in terms of the YouTube channel, since I did my last show, which I think I mentioned was a few weeks ago, and I think that's when I'm gonna keep that up. The VORW YouTube shows, and I mentioned this the last time too. I understand it's an issue of quality versus quantity. And I'll reiterate that point because it's an important one. I remember back in 2014, I used to produce the VORW shows at an extraordinary rate. And I feel as though I really did have more energy back then, and that's just my own opinion. If you ever check back to the channel from 2014, and you look at the rate of uploads that I did, especially during the summer of 2014, I created an extraordinary amount of content during that time. I mean, my channel, it was, in every regard, I mean, a complete powerhouse in terms of making content. Every single day, it was, for about 3 or 4 months. 2 videos a day, every single day. Isn't that something? I mean, that's a lot of videos when you really think about it. And it wasn't, 2 short videos. It was always one video that was at least probably 10 minutes long, like a review usually. It was a running on empty review or an energy crisis review. And then on top of that, I usually did an hour-long VORW. I mean, every single day I would do that. And that was an extraordinary rate of content, and I didn't really have a lot to talk about in the VORWs. I would just kind of babble about and then read some letters. But again, I had more energy back then, and I feel, I mean, I still have some energy now, but it's just not as much, It was still the end of that kind of burst of energy we get when, then it kind of, as you get older, it kind of slows down a little bit, and that's it. And it's slowing down now, but it's alright. Anyway, my point, there was a time earlier this year that I made the decision to try to do these VORW shows more frequently. Once a week, perhaps, is my intention, and I started doing that. But I ran into a roadblock fairly quickly. And that roadblock was lack of stuff to talk about. I had the letters, but I wanted to say other things as well. But I didn't know what to say. And I would sit there at the beginning of it, and you can probably go back about 5 to 7 programs, and you could find that. And at the beginning, I would be there. I'd be fishing around for topics. I would essentially be forcing myself to fluff and carry on, simply in order to make the show longer. And as a result, to be able to make more stuff. And it was lowering the quality of the programming in order to produce more. So I decided to drop it. I said, you know what, forget it. It's my show. I can manage it how I want to manage it, and that's what I'm going to do. I tried to do it on a weekly basis. It didn't work out. You know, if I really forced myself to produce something, I could. But the quality would just be lower. I said, forget it. I'm going to make it a show every couple of weeks. And in that span of weeks, enough things would elapse that would allow there to be a good number of talking points and allow it to be rich in content, rich in letters, and be a much, much better show overall. And also, considering the length of probably around 3 hours, it would be about the length as 2 of those shorter lacking shows kind of put together into one. So I decided that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I did, and that's where things really stand at this point. So, you know, that's how it went. That's how it's going, and I think it's a much better, you know, policy, I suppose, because I've always have topics to discuss. I've always got plenty. I've got the shortwave. I've got channel updates, anything interesting that happened in life, and anything to talk about. And there's always plenty. So I think it's something that worked out really for the best, and that's where that stands. So I hope you can understand that. But even if it's not going to be every week, the shows that do happen are probably going to have a lot more to them than if I forced myself to do something on a weekly basis. So that's, you know, maybe it comes at a little cost, but I think it's for the best, truth be told. It's a warm day today. Let me check the thermometer. Let's see what it is outside. It's actually cooler. It's 90 degrees. 90 degrees on the button. But it feels to me like a 70-degree day. It's actually, I feel a little chilly, as a matter of fact. That shows that I've adapted to the Florida weather. But it feels a little chilly to me, actually, because I was used to, you know, 100-degree days and with a lot of humidity, and now it's 90 and a little bit drier today. And so I actually feel a little cool. I could wear a jacket today. But I've got on some black shoes, black socks, black dress pants, triple pleated, and a white dress shirt, the short sleeves, of course, and my pens and the recorder, and I'm cooling off, keeping cool. I got my water here, got a Trenta cup of water, so I think I'm all set and ready to go to do a show today. Number one, let me make sure I'm recording here. I always want to make sure I'm recording. Otherwise, there's no point. But let's see. We're recording. Yes, we're recording. Okay. So, I have a couple topics pertinent to the channel, and then we'll go from there. Number one, this channel has grown incredibly since I made this last show. I had surpassed 300,000 subscribers, and already now we're past 325,000 subscribers. So since the last show, I mean, the channel's gained at least 35,000 subscribers, maybe 40,000. So it's an incredible number. It's truly an incredible number, and it's something that I never ever would have expected. You know, I couldn't believe anyone would watch this channel. I mean, I started doing it out as a little hobby back in 2011 for really no one. I started it out, the first video. I didn't know who was going to watch it, if anyone was going to watch it. I initially found the videos, you know, fun to make. And then I remember, after probably about 4 videos or 5 videos or so, I got my first subscriber. And the guy's name, he was Stan. He was the amateur magician. And that's kind of when it really started sinking in already. And it only did with time. After 2011, when I started getting my original audience, who I still remember. I still remember my original fans. Great group of people. They, you know, I remember all of you. I do. And I'm very thankful for all of your support. I know a few of you, at least 3 of you now. I know there's 3 of you. Adam, Braxton, and the trench coat. 3 of you. I know you guys still watch regularly, and you guys have been there since the start, pretty much. I know all 3 of you have been here since 2011, 2012. Back when it had 100 subscribers. But there might be a few others, too, that might still be around from that original audience. But anyway, it was when I started realizing that there was a small audience, really kind of gave me that drive to keep it going. I mean, I like doing the videos as it is. I thought they were fun to do. I still find them fun to do. But that gave me the drive that I wasn't just doing them for nothing. You know, I was doing them for people who actually enjoyed them and supported me and supported the channel in its endeavors, and small or large number of people gave me that motivation and drive to keep it going. And that's still what drives it today. You guys, the viewers, the listeners, the supporters, the subscribers. Small or large, could be 3 people, could be 300,000 people. You know, that's what keeps it going. You guys. And I'm always so thankful for it, and that's why I express it so much, because it's something that I really feel every time I make a video. Very thankful for it all, so thank you. But it's a milestone, to get to what I was saying, it's a milestone that I never had expected or anticipated the channel to get. It's just not one of those things. I mean, I remember back in 2011 when I first made the channel, it was a pipe dream. I remember the day I started the channel, actually. I was sitting there, I filmed the review. Interesting little piece of lore surrounding that. The first review, you can look back, where I have the gray pinstripe suit, and the contrast black vest, and the button collar shirt with the red tie. If you're curious about that ensemble, by the way, I still have the gray suit. It's hanging up in a closet up in New York. I don't think it would fit anymore at this point. I would be amazed if it did. I mean, I could maybe one day try the jacket on, but I'm sure it would look ridiculous on me. I had some nice wide lapels, though. You know, I'll give it credit for that. I know the vest certainly doesn't fit. Shirt obviously doesn't fit. But the tie, I still have that necktie. Again, that's up in New York too. But that was a vintage necktie. It was a vintage red tie, probably from the 60s or maybe 70s. But I think it was I would likely assume 60s because it's a thinner tie. And in the 70s, I started getting wide again, and it was likely probably a 60s necktie, a vintage 1960s tie. But I mean, it was that I still have, and that I could still wear at some point. Anyway, I was saying, back when I started the channel in 2011, I remember it was a pipe dream of mine. I use that term because it means, you know, an unrealistic expectation. It's like, you know, I think we all sometimes think of winning the lottery, right? We all sometimes will think of that. It's a highly unrealistic circumstance, but it's something that we'll think of nonetheless because it's fun. And it's kind of fun to sit there and imagine, imagine if I, won the lottery and what I would do with all that, and so on and so forth. It's just a fun way for our mind to just entertain ourselves. I remember that night, I was sitting there, I had filmed the review at around 5 p.m. or so, likely 4 or 5 p.m. that day. And that night, I uploaded it to YouTube at around 8. And I remember as I was uploading, I was sitting there, I had picked out the name for the channel. I originally had wanted to name this YouTube channel The Weekly Report, but that name was taken. The Report of the Week wasn't, so that was my next alternative, and I named it that. That's how the Report of the Week was born. That name. And the original expectation of the channel was to do one review per week. So hence the name. That's why it's called The Report of the Week. Because there was supposed to be one report, or review, you could use the words interchangeably, really, on an energy drink per week. Initially, it would be every Sunday. So as a result, that's how the name came to be. It was going to be one report per week, hence the name. I remember sitting there, uploading that video. I was still uploading, and I was kind of just sitting there watching it, because it was my first upload ever. Nowadays, I just kind of leave the computer and listen to the radio, or read the news or something. I never like to really clog up the computer while it's uploading, so it can upload faster. But I remember kind of sitting there watching the original video upload, and I was thinking to myself, I was thinking to myself, imagine if one day this channel ever got big enough that I could do something with it. Imagine that. And it was kind of something that I was just kind of thinking about and imagining, just for fun. But it was something I was thinking about. And to see that in a way actually happen, it's surreal. It's crazy. It's very humbling, because it's something I never expected, nothing I ever saw in myself. Again, I was always amazed that even just one person would ever watch this. I never thought I ever had anything worth saying, or, anything anyone would ever even bother to hear. I thought I would, only be laughed at. And, granted I am. I mean, a lot of people see the channel just as a meme and nothing more, and that'll be it. But I know there's lots of people out there that see it for something more than that as well. But it's just, a very surreal and humbling moment when I saw it reach 300,000 subscribers and I see it grow at the rate that it does. It's very shocking to me, that's all. Now, there's always two sides of the coin. Heads, tails. There's a chance that it'll land on its edge, too, but you forget about that one, because that'll ruin this analogy. What goes up must come down. True. It's true. Saying exists for a reason. Some things obviously go up longer than others, but what goes up must come down. It's true. I mean, look at those musicians that had one big hit 20 years ago and were never successful again in that regard. They're not still making millions of dollars. So it's inevitability. The channel's, that'll be it one day. And it'll slow down, and eventually it'll die, and it'll... When? I don't know. But one day it will happen. And it's something I accept. Something I understand. Something that can be initially a hard pill to swallow, but something that should always be in the back of your mind. So, I accept it. For now, though, the channel is doing very well. It's growing very, very nicely. And it's great to see. But I also know that it's not going to last forever. It's fleeting. And that's just the way it is, and that's just how things are. That's just the way things are. And you know what? That's okay. I apologize. I really wanted to record outside today, and I feel like those stupid cicadas are just ruining the, I feel like they're too loud, that's all. I imagine them not to be, but it's just getting to me, that's all. What I was noticing with YouTube, and I've been seeing this a lot, some people will have a channel. They will be, they'll do a video here, a video there. They might be doing it seriously already. They might be doing it simply for fun. Or they might be attempting to make it serious. And they get lucky. Perhaps they played their cards right. Perhaps they were in the right place at the right time. Knew the right person. Posted by someone at the right place at the right time with the right title and all that stuff. One way or another, though, they got lucky. And all of a sudden, the amount of views and subscribers they get skyrockets. I was looking at some graphs the other day, and it's something I like doing often for fun. It's enjoyable for me. I was looking at some graphs the other day about a lot of those types of YouTube channels. I'm not going to name any names specifically. I'm not going to call anyone out. But I was looking at some channels. For instance, I was looking at one thing where a channel went from, well, let's say, 4,000 subscribers all of a sudden up to 70,000 or up to 140,000. You had channels where it was a little more gradual, but all of a sudden, instead of getting 20 subscribers a day, they were getting 100 subscribers a day or 200. It's a sad inevitability, but it doesn't last forever. Some people, they can drag it out. They can get it going for years. Sometimes, perhaps even decades. Who knows what the future would hold for YouTube, but I know there's people who have been around since 2007 and have managed to make it last. They've been able to utilize their YouTube channel to get, to diversify, to be able to get themselves a good career somewhere else. They were able to get deals, whatever, able to make enough to last if they, play their cards right, don't get a mansion, and, invest their money in a little bit, and they'll be alright. But sometimes you see people with these short-term boosts, where the channel will skyrocket for one reason or another, and again, it could be for a variety of factors. The worst is always when it's out of sympathy. I've noted that down. Because I've seen it happen where sometimes something will happen, and the general public will sympathize with an individual, and they'll make their day by subscribing to their channel and getting them up there. But oftentimes it's never done in complete seriousness. It's done in the short term, but give it a couple days or weeks and it's going to slow down. I've seen that happen a lot of times, where the channel growth will just slow. Won't be like what it used to be. People will stop watching, and eventually, of course, people will begin unsubscribing. Maybe they realize, well, this channel has very niche content, but it's just not for me. Maybe they did it as a gesture, but they'll begin to wonder why they did it in the first place if they aren't even a fan of the channel. Maybe they see that the channel wasn't what they thought it was. They'll unsubscribe as a result. Maybe they're just sick of the content. Interests and tastes, of course, change. But it happens. It happens a lot. Happens almost every channel at some point or another. But the way it's handled, that's what, makes me want to give this talk, really. The way it's handled, that's what's sad, really. Because I see people, it gets to their head. They see that their channel got a boost for one reason or another. Think it's going to last forever. They let the newfound attention get to their heads. They get cocky. They get full of themselves. They think, now I'm an A-list celebrity. And when the channel starts slowing down, sometimes that will turn to shock, confusion. Oftentimes that will turn to disbelief and then to anger. And even then to desperation. Where you see people, they think they'll be on top forever. And this is in the context of YouTube, but let's face it, it happens in a lot of industries. Where they'll be, suddenly when it starts slowing down, they'll be filled with anger. They're going to be thinking to myself, what the hell's going on? All these people subscribed and now they're not watching anymore? What is this? Why aren't they watching me? What's wrong with these people? They might let it get to anger. Why, F and watch my videos. Why the F are you unsubscribing? And so on. Everyone reacts differently. And then it might turn to desperation. You might see people desperately trying to keep the fire going. Doing these real clickbait videos and desperately trying to start something to get people talking again. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it is, it's just sad to watch. But I've noticed that, and that's made me kind of think about my own channel. And it's made me realize, understand, and accept the fact that it won't last forever. Enjoy and be thankful for what you have, but don't go on expecting any more. There's people out there that say, come on, gotta get me to 1 million subscribers. Subscribe. Buy this, do that. And I'm just thankful and honored that the channel has gotten this far. I don't know where the future is going to take it. I don't know how longer it'll keep going for. I mean, I'm still going to be here. I like doing this. I'm still going to be here. But I don't know where the numbers are going to be a year from now. Or 2 years or 3 years from now. I'm afraid I don't. But nonetheless, I'm just so thankful that the channel has gotten this far, and I'm very thankful that it's where it's at right now, and I couldn't ask for anything more. Let nature take its course, whatever that might be, and that's where it stands. because I see so many people, they want more, they crave more, and when they don't get what they want, it really destroys them. Just an observation, just something that I've noted, but I don't know where things will take this channel. But I'm still going to be here. I have no intention on stopping anything. I'm still going to be around. I'm still going to keep the channel going. I'm still going to keep the shortwave broadcasts going too. I'm going to keep those radio broadcasts going for as long as I can, until there's no money to do it anymore, or until I lose the drive to do it anymore. But I'm going to keep those going too. So don't worry about the channel. It's still going to be here, but where it stands statistically going forward, I don't know. But we'll just have to see, and no matter what, I'm just going to keep on keeping on and doing what I do. And that's that. Likewise, of course, if I haven't mentioned it already, if you are a new viewer, a new listener, a new subscriber, welcome to this program. I welcome you with open arms. I hope you enjoy this show, and I give you a very warm welcome to this channel. I hope you enjoy all that it has to offer, and welcome. Welcome, welcome. If you're interested in writing into this show, if you have any questions or comments, you can send me an email at repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Keep in mind, though, that I do have an established quota of letters that I read per show, around 20 or so, because I get a lot of troll messages, a lot of scam messages, a lot of harassment, and even people lately, they've been trying to catfish me, of all things, like that's gonna like that's somehow miraculously gonna work. But a lot of stuff like that mixed in there, so just keep that in mind. But also notice that if I don't read or respond to your letter, I hold nothing personally against you. There just wasn't room for it. But again, if you have anything you'd like to say, email repweekinterview1@gmail.com. I'll be repeating that address later in the program as well. Also, on the off chance that this program is being relayed on shortwave by a free radio station, again, it's very, very unlikely, but if you're hearing this, please note that I have no affiliation with the station that's relaying it, but I generously thank the transmission provider. And if you are listening, you can send a reception report to VORWinfo@gmail.com. Well, next thing I wanted to talk about, let's take a sip of water first. Since we got the, I don't want to call it depressing, but realistic, I guess, somber, realistic talk taken care of first, now we'll move on to some pleasant news. For those interested, I am finally pleased to announce that I now have released officially Report of the Week merchandise. If you're interested, you can buy Report of the Week or VORW t-shirts, hoodies, stickers or coffee mugs, and even a bag in some cases. And it's via Teespring. You can find the store, teespring.com/stores/the Report of the Week. teespring.com/stores/the Report of the Week. So if you're interested in that, this has been a very long time coming. I remember I first started getting motivated to think about merchandise back in 2015, or I'm sorry, even before then, 2013. Late in the year, a couple folks made some t-shirts and were starting to sell them, and people were saying, listen, you should start making t-shirts of your own, because these guys are just, cashing out on your behalf. You should start making merchandise that you would officially release. And, they said I'd buy it. And I kept getting requests for that. 2014, I was getting requests for it. 2015, 16, and even for a good amount of 2017, requests to start doing merchandise. And I really didn't know where to begin. I didn't know where to start. I make t-shirts, so I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I look up the providers for that stuff, and I saw that there were hundreds of websites and organizations that would do t-shirts. I didn't know which one was the best to work with. I mean, how did I go about contacting these people? Would it cost money to do that? How would I get the designs? How would it work? What would I do? I didn't know. I was clueless. I didn't know what to do. But I was finally motivated. I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to get this off the ground. I'm going to do it. I got the motivation to do it this year, finally. And I reached out. I was actually contacted by Teespring. And I started researching them, and they seemed to be a very good company, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to set my sights on this group. Going to partner up with them, and let's finally get something off the ground here. So I was able to finally get that going, get some designs submitted as well. And the store is still a work in progress. There's more designs to come, more products to come, so it's going to be updated, so you can check back in the future if you know, there's going to be some updates. And I was finally able to get it off the ground. So if you're interested, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, and stickers of all shapes and sizes and all colors for everyone. I really wanted to make sure to diversify and not just have them in limited sizes, so I really wanted to just be diverse in that regard. And if you see something that interests you, you know, it's up to you. But it's up there now. You can find the link in the description, and again, you can find it teespring.com, that's teespring.com/stores/the report of the week, and that's just like the channel name, one word, teespring.com/stores/report of the week. And if you're interested, a few people have already done this, and I think this would be pretty cool to do for a future show. And someone actually suggested this. A viewer of mine suggested this, and I thought, it'd be a pretty cool idea, so I think I'm going to go with it. He suggested, since a few people have shared pictures of their merchandise that they got, say their t-shirts, their mugs, stickers, whatever, if you get anything, you can take a picture of it, you can take a picture of the merchandise, you can take a picture of you with the merchandise. That's up for you to decide. But if you want to do that, you can take a picture of what you got, you can take a picture of yourself with the merchandise, and you can send it to me at repweekinterview1@gmail.com, and I can kind of feature it in the next VORW podcast on YouTube, like I feature the fan art. And I think that would just be a kind of fun little thing to do there, and you could essentially see what other people got, what the quality looks like, and along with the pictures, one thing that I'd be very interested in getting is really let me know the quality of anything that you got. You know, if you got a coffee mug, let me know how it holds up. Let me know how the design on it looks. If you got a t-shirt, let me know how well it wears. Let me know the quality of the design. Let me know if the print falls off or if the print looks good, the resolution of it, the stickers, all of that stuff. You can be a little reviewer yourself if you want. You can let me know really the quality of it, what you thought of it, because I would really appreciate your comments. Usually I always review and assess the products that are given to me. Now you can really assess the things that, in a way, this channel is giving to you. Again, I know it's not for everyone. I understand it, but if this appeals to you, I say go for it. But if you want to, again, take a picture of anything you got, a picture of you with the merchandise, and any comments on it too. If you got anything, let me know your thoughts on it. But again, for those interested, teespring.com/stores/the report of the week. It's there if you want it, and it'll be up now going forward, and again, it'll be updated too with new designs. So it's there. It's been said and done. And if you find something you like, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's good quality, and I look forward to hearing your comments and feedback on it as well. So that's where that stands with the Teespring merchandise. And again, it's been a long time coming, it's been a long venture, but I'm very glad that I finally got it off the ground, and I hope it'll work out well for you guys, and I hope you guys get a nice, good quality product, I should say. I've been doing this so often, but I'm going to check, make sure it's still recording. Good, good, good. Alright then, so we got the Teespring out of the way, and we got the somber YouTube talk out of the way, and we got the cicada interference out of the way. So coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, a public service announcement. I've noticed this on the last 2 uploads I did, and I'm almost certain that this is just a glitch. I don't think anyone's messing me around, intentionally at least. Now, I can't be sure. At the same time, in truth, there's not very much we could ever be totally sure of, but I think it's just a glitch. And I contacted YouTube support about this, and I provided some good feedback that I want to share with you. There have been some issues with recent uploads, and VORW is excluded. You'll see what I'm getting with. On recent video reviews that I've been doing, food reviews, there have been issues with the notifications. There's so much talk going around with notifications, and I oftentimes get confused by it. Now, I'll admit, I'm going to say it outright, I'm not a terribly tech-savvy person. But there's been an issue with notifications for a lot of the recent videos. And notifications are very important, because when I upload a video, in the upload settings, there's a tab there that says Advanced Settings. And when I click on that tab, there's a couple things you can do. Comments, I can enable comments, always enable the comments. What category I want it to be, entertainment. Age restricted, no, it's not any sort of indecency like that in the video. So it's safe for the little ears, as one radio station in the area says. But I never really do the notification for the subscribers for the VORW shows, because it has an adverse effect. It doesn't work out well. Because a lot of people just watch the channel for the food reviews, and when they see this video that's 3 hours long and no video to it really, they unsubscribe. That's just how it is. I've seen it happen. I've lost sometimes as many as 50 subscribers the hour that the VORW uploads if it's made public, and there's a sharp drop-off in long-term views too. People just stop watching because they see a VORW show. It's that detrimental. And it almost really caused the channel to stall out back in January when I started doing them more frequently, and it's so sad to see that. But my solution was to keep doing the VORWs but make no notifications, so it'll be like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, secret club, right? Where then if you check the channel, you see it, or if you're subscribed to the playlist, I always add it to the VORW playlist, then you'll be able to get it. So, considering that exemption, all of the food reviews have a notification that gets sent out. So someone who's subscribed to the channel and has the notifications set is alerted that the video is uploaded, and they know to check it and watch it if they want to do that. Well, lately I've been checking that button for notifications, and it doesn't get sent out, or it doesn't get sent out till a few hours later. And that was impacting the amount of views the videos were getting, and because I really do the food reviews to, number one, alert the public, but also it's really what I do on this channel as, really it's where the channel's bread is buttered, you can say. It's very important. So when no notification gets sent out, of course it has an impact. And a lot of people were saying they don't get the notifications anymore. So I contacted YouTube about it, and they got back to me fairly promptly, which was kind of them. And they mentioned two things. They said, number one, alert your viewers of the issue. I'm doing that right now. So, number one, if there's an issue with the notifications for the food reviews, apparently there's, next to the subscribe button, there's like a little bell, and this is where my lack of technological knowledge comes in, and again, I apologize. I admit, though, that I'm like a 80-year-old man when it comes to this. But apparently there's a little bell next to the subscribe button on the channel that if you click on it, it will enable notifications. So they said to check and see if that is already activated or enabled. So if that is of interest to you, you can check that out, I presume. And they also said, and this one really resonates with me, if you start noticing issues with the notifications again, so the next video, next few videos you don't get a notification for, they said go down to the bottom of the page, the web page, and there's a send feedback little button you can click. So click on that and report the fact that you're not getting any notification for this video, and report it to YouTube, because if enough people report it, they said it could bring them awareness of the issue and be able to find the root cause and be able to fix it. So if that issue with the notifications persists, should I say, then consider reporting this issue to YouTube by clicking that submit feedback button, and again mention that there's no notification getting sent out for the videos if, dare I say, this issue should persist. So it's something to be made aware of, and I'm not doing that intentionally. It seems to be an issue on YouTube's part, but they're very kind in helping me out here, and we'll see what the future holds for that, but let's hope for the best, and that's where that stands. Now, this only other announcement that I have, and then after that we shall move onwards, is pertinent to the VORW radio program. To offer some insight, first and foremost, before making this announcement, the VORW radio program is not to be confused with this VORW YouTube podcast that you are hearing right now. The VORW radio program is broadcast on a weekly basis every Thursday, repeated thereafter each Sunday. The program is 1 hour in length, and it really is a creative outlet in order to exercise certain abilities which cannot be done on YouTube, utilizing the shortwave spectrum and freedom thereof. And the program is again 1 hour in length. It features a mixture of my talk and commentary, as well as listener-requested music, and it is a light entertainment program. In the topic, you can expect me to talk about nothing controversial, but perhaps topics which may be barred the right to monetization on YouTube. I may talk about some deeper things on it. I might talk about anything. Could be current events, could be even moral dilemmas, could be philosophical topics, something to just kind of, get people thinking a bit. Or it could be something rather trivial. I could just talk about miscellaneous things. Every show's different. But it's something that I advise you to give a listen. It's a fun program. It's really also a place where the listening audience can also connect to the program, and lots of listener participation. It's just fun, really, for everyone, and a lot of people enjoy it. If not the talk, they usually enjoy the musical selection, which always spans the genres and decades every time. and it's always the listeners that really decide and dictate the course of the program through their listener music requests. And I also try and shout out as many people as I can on the air during that 1 hour span, so it's just a fun show, and it's something that I always advise you to give a listen to if you're interested. I have 2 changes to this program, one positive, one negative, but both of which I am set on and are finalized, and it's how things are. I suppose, at least how I see it, I always like the bad news first, because then perhaps the good news can offset that. So I will do that in that particular order, and then, as I said, we'll continue on from there. At present, you can listen to this program several ways. You can listen on your shortwave radio every Thursday and every Sunday. You can listen to a stream, digital quality, on TuneIn radio, again, every Thursday and Sunday. And then there's SoundCloud, which allows for on-demand listening. It's my decision, but it's something I intend to pursue. The SoundCloud archive will soon be gone. There will be a point, likely in August, where I'm going to shut it down. At the very least, stop updating it, but I'm going to shut it down, find another site to use, and I'm going to leave SoundCloud. It's my decision, but I've decided it's something that's been eating at me for a while now, and it's not going to stop until I do this, and until I exercise this. It's been eating at me every day, telling me to just do it now already, but I want to give you all proper warning before it happens. So I'm giving you that warning right now. If you listen on SoundCloud, and I know some people do, there's a base of people that listen on SoundCloud. Some of the shows get as many as 2,000 listens on SoundCloud, but many get around... There seems to be a base of around maybe 700 to 1,500 people that listen on SoundCloud. There's other ways to listen, and I want to get you through it. And it's easier than you think. I understand that SoundCloud is convenient and it's on demand, and if you have another site that you would recommend that kind of offers some of those features, let me know. It's a variety of factors, but also the instability of the website has really been bothering me, and I need to find an alternative no matter what anyway. So if you have another kind of archive/listen-on-demand website, let me know. Let me know. It's appreciated. Your feedback is most welcome in that regard to host it on. But otherwise, there are other ways to listen. There really are. And I'll show you how easy it is. You can listen on your computer or on your phone multiple times on Thursday and also on Sunday. So look at it this way. If the SoundCloud archive is gone, you can listen to the broadcast in digital quality first at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern every Thursday. The way you can tune into that show is quite simple. Go to WRMI.net. That's WRMI.net. And this is how easy it is. It's a good website, very well put together, professional. They're a good station, serious about what they do. At the lower right hand corner of your screen, you'll see a button there that says Escuchar, and below that is audio. You just click on it. Done. Could be even simpler. There's a bunch of streams right there. All of them go to the same thing. All of them go to the same feed. None of them download some sort of weird client that you gotta hook up or anything. It's all web-based. And that's it. That's how easy it is. So that's if you want to listen at 6 p.m. Just go to WRMI.net. There's a ton of streams, lower right hand corner. Any of them. All same exact feed. So you could help yourself to that. That's as easy as it gets right there. But say you're not really available to listen at 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Well, no worry. At 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays, the show is heard again, this time on TuneIn. All you need to do, search on Google WBCQ space TuneIn, TUNEIN, hit enter. First link right there, click on it, and there you go. Done. Or if you want to find it on TuneIn Radio, the website or the app, just type in WBCQ. You'll find the stream right there. And sure enough, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday, you'll find it right there. But let's say that, you're busy on Thursday. Well, you're in luck, because we also have a live stream with the show repeated every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You can catch that at the exact same place. WBCQ TuneIn. Follow the exact same instructions, but instead of doing that at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, do it at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. All shows are exactly the same, 1 hour in length, 60 minutes digital quality. So you have 3 opportunities to listen direct that way. It's a very popular way to listen. The majority of listeners, the second biggest majority, I'd say, the biggest majority is now on shortwave. We'll get to that in a minute. But the second largest majority listen on TuneIn. And followed that is SoundCloud, of course. And then after that is the web-based shortwave radios. Those are cool. I recommend playing around on those. Those are a lot of fun. Now, for more opportunities to listen, you can tune in direct on shortwave. I'm going to say it right now. This is the way I recommend to listen. I'm not going to force it on you. There's a reason why those tune-in streams, why I promote them so much. I understand it's not for everyone. Hence the diversity of these streams and ways to listen. I get it. But if it's something that interests you, I would always suggest listening directly on shortwave. I have been contacted by dozens at least, it's likely now over 100, maybe 150 or more individuals who have expressed interest in listening to the broadcast on shortwave. And I'd say at least half, at least of what I know of, maybe more, have bought shortwave radios to listen to the show on. So people just like you, who have discovered this channel online, have bought shortwave radios in order to listen to the show, and have done so successfully, and are able to pick up the broadcast on shortwave with a good signal, and are able to enjoy the program really with a very fun aesthetic. You'd be able to hear the broadcast on an actual radio as it's intended to be listened to. You can hear it in, the analog quality. You can hear some of the static, the fading, and just get a very, very fun, interesting aesthetic and be able to listen on an actual radio. It's a fun experience. Shortwave radio is also, of course, not only home to the VORW radio program, but also home to many other international broadcasters, too. I can give you a interesting perspective on current events. You can get varying perspectives. You can hear international news, cultural programs, music you've never heard before, and lots of fun stations, too, that are out there. It might take a little tuning of the dial, might take some trial and error, but believe me, it's more easily navigable than you think it is. You just need to play around with it first, and then, it's great. It's fun. It's something I enjoy, and even if it's something that you'd only use once a week to listen to the broadcast on, having a shortwave radio, handy is something I find incredibly important and potentially useful in, potential disaster scenario. That's just my personal opinion, but in case something very bad ever happened and there's a communication blackout or censorship or a complete disaster and you need to know what the hell's going on, something I highly recommend having is a shortwave radio, because on that radio, on the shortwave band, you're able to pick up radio stations from all over the globe. You can hear stations from thousands of miles away, tens of thousands of miles away, and trust me, it can be a lifesaver in some ways. Something I recommend, personally. But that's a way I would recommend listening on. If you're located in North America, South America, the Caribbean, if you're located in Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa, you can hear this broadcast on shortwave clearly. And I have broadcasts directly targeting all of those regions of the globe. If you want to listen on shortwave, please, I implore you, contact me. Reach out to me. Email me at vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. Anyone who emails me inquiring about listening on shortwave, wanting to buy a shortwave radio, the best frequencies to tune in on, I will respond to you and I will help you out. I've helped out many people in the past, and many people have successfully gotten shortwave radios and even listened to other broadcasts that have gotten into it all regularly and have a lot of fun with it all. I will help you out, and I'll let you, I want to help this happen as smoothly as it can. Okay? So if you have any questions, I'm here, and I will gladly answer them. If you need any advice, I'll be right here. vorwinfo@gmail.com. Okay? You don't know what shortwave radio to buy, I'll recommend you some models. Need some tips to improve reception? I'll help you. Need to know the frequencies? I'll help you. Have any questions about listening in general? Any confusion in finding those streams or whatever it is, let me know. I'll help you out. I want you to be able to, if you have an interest in listening to this broadcast, I'll do what I can to help you find it swiftly, efficiently, and with as little difficulty as possible. But in terms of shortwave radio, there are lots of opportunities you can listen on that. I will list all of the times and frequencies below in Eastern Time, and if needed, you can do the conversions. Every Thursday, at the time of 4 p.m. Eastern, you can listen to the broadcast on 11580 kilohertz. That's 11580 kilohertz in Eastern North America. This broadcast was originally targeting Europe, but reception, it just didn't make it there, and instead the signal landed better in Eastern North America, especially the Eastern U.S. and parts of Canada as well. So if you're interested in tuning in the first broadcast of the setting, really, that's it. 11580 kilohertz, 4 p.m. Eastern. The next broadcast comes at 6 p.m. Eastern on the frequency of 9955 kilohertz. That's 9955 on your shortwave radio, specifically targeting Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. The broadcast is also audible in parts of the U.S. as well. But if you're in Central, South America, or the Caribbean, this broadcast is made for you. Again, 9955 kilohertz at 6 p.m. Eastern. At 8 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday, I like to call it our flagship service to North America, since this is the most listened to broadcast, and this is really the big one. At 8 p.m. Eastern, you can tune to the shortwave frequencies of 7490 kilohertz, that's 7490, or 9395 kilohertz if you're located in Eastern North America. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're located in Western North America at the same time, you can tune in on 7730 kilohertz, that's 7730 kilohertz. And if you're located in the southwestern United States, Mexico, or Central America, you can tune to the frequency of 9455 kilohertz. So at the time of 8 p.m. Eastern, there will be 4 frequencies operating in parallel, serving all parts of North America. 74, 90, 93, 95 for Eastern, 7730 for Western, and 9455 for Central. And that concludes the broadcasts for Thursday. We then have repeat programs on Sunday. I'm going to get into this one after I issue the schedule in full, and then we'll talk more. At the time of 12 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, I am pleased to announce full and total resumption of shortwave broadcasts to Europe on the frequency of 9400 kilohertz, that's 9400 kilohertz, 12 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. That broadcast can also be heard in the Middle East very clearly, and also in North Africa. At 4 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, broadcasts may be heard on 9395 kilohertz to Eastern North America, and at 6 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, broadcasts may be heard on 7490 kilohertz to Eastern North America. So you can see how many listening opportunities there are to listeners who tune in on shortwave. You know, there might be the 3 opportunities to listen on, the tune-in. But in reality, I mean, how many do we have? 4 p.m., 6, 8? We have 6 opportunities in total to be able to listen on shortwave. 7 if you include the very obscure repeat show that's aired every Thursday at 6 a.m., but that's an old show. If you want to tune in on that one, you can. That's on 5850 at 6 a.m. Eastern every Thursday, but they keep playing an old show from late March. They've been doing that for almost, 20 weeks now. But hey, it's alright. Not bad. Can listen to the same songs every week, which I do. So there's many ways to listen on shortwave, many places you can listen in, and many parts of the world that I target. Again, you have any inquiries, you know how to reach me, and I will welcome any correspondence. In terms of the European broadcast, I decided to do it. I decided to go for it, and just do it. I was able to finally get a response from and negotiate an agreement with the transmission provider in Bulgaria, Spaceline Ltd, and I am now transmitting every Sunday at 12 PM Eastern with a 150 kilowatt transmitter. That's a very strong professional grade transmitter from Bulgaria, being beamed from Bulgaria directly across Central Europe, reaching areas such as Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, into the Netherlands, France, the UK, Ireland, with extremely strong signals. You don't need any fancy antenna setup, none of that. You could hear this broadcast just fine, and I can say that from the broadcasts I've already done on that frequency and my own observations. This broadcast is very strong, their strongest broadcast I've ever done to Europe, so it guarantees you good reception. The broadcast can also be heard throughout Eastern Europe as well, throughout Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, also likely through southeastern Europe, the Mediterranean as well. And the broadcast also has some added bonus, where the signal appears to also kind of bounce backwards from the transmitter as well, in a way, and also make it into the Middle East too. And I've observed very strong signals, very good, clear, listenable signals, reaching everywhere from Israel all the way across the Arabian Peninsula to Oman. The Middle East is also blanketed by the signal. North Africa appears to be as well, and even Central Asia will likely reach that as well. The two broadcasts I've already done on that frequency were a success. I've received successful reports from the United Kingdom, from Germany, Austria, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Israel, and I think there's a couple other countries too I'm missing. Apologize, I can't get that off the top of my head. But that broadcast to Europe, something I decided to do. I took a gamble on it, and we'll see. But it's something I'm going to be going and maintaining for at least until September. Likely longer though, but at least till September. And it's just, it wasn't ever a listenership issue. There's always been listeners in Europe tune in. The issue really was the fact that my original transmission to Europe, which had a good amount of listeners throughout the continent, had a falling out with the management there. They refused to respond to any of my emails as I was a paying customer. Dropped them. You can't do that to your customers. Heck with them. Then I moved to WRMI, and their broadcast to Europe just never really actually made it to Europe. It was just too weak for the most part, and as a result, there were listenership issues. When you have a weak signal, not a lot of people are really going to tune to it. And I would get a few reports every so often, here and there. I might one week get a letter from Latvia, and one week I might get a letter from, say, Russia. Might get a letter from France the next week. Might get lucky, get 2 letters the week afterwards, maybe one from the UK, one from Spain. But it wasn't the same type of response I would be getting from, the broadcast I had done on that first station. And eventually the letters started getting fewer and fewer, until eventually there would be weeks where I would get no letters at all. Or at least no letters from listeners in Europe letting me know they picked up the broadcast. Instead, I'd be hearing from folks in Tennessee and Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And that's great. I'm glad listeners in that part of the world can pick it up. But when the broadcast was designated to be picked up in Europe, I decided to drop it. So now I'm taking a gamble, and I've reinstated full-blown transmissions to Europe. And, again, this is going to be a very strong signal, guaranteed. Listeners, again, just like you also, who have bought shortwave radios to listen to the broadcast on, located in Europe, have reported successfully good reception. So it's something that I would recommend, and that's what I have for you there. Okay. If there's anything else I have to talk about, I'll give you a little update on the state of international broadcasting. The issue that we touched base on the last show about the CBC's regional station there in Newfoundland and Labrador, not looking good. No update. I contacted the guy. He said be off for at least another month for, quote, testing, end quote. And I suspect them. I think they're gone. I think it's gone. I think it's so sad, but, you know, bureaucracy at work, ladies and gentlemen. So we lost it. Lost another one. Sad, though. The poor people out there that are getting thrown aside. Because, you know, even though they're being legitimately impacted, I guess there just weren't enough. And screw the guys that are still going to be now left without any signal as a result. So, frustrates me. I'm sorry, it just does. When it's unjust like that. Secondly, there haven't been too many other adjustments in the world of shortwave radio. Radio Kuwait is reactivating some more of their frequencies. They brought back a few more Arabic broadcasts on some frequencies. They brought back a Persian service to Iran. That was fine. You know, as expected, really. I knew they were going to do it. I have more to come still, so that's fine. Otherwise, the biggest news that everyone's been talking about was a station reactivated, and it's nice to see. It's a little positive trend, finally. It's something that there's so little of in the world of shortwave nowadays. You know, it seems like with every show that I do, there's more bad news to report. But this is some good news, finally. A station in Central Africa has fully reactivated its shortwave service, and it's great news, especially when it's coming from a part of the world where shortwave radio is a lot more vital on a daily basis than it is over here. You know, this is really where it matters the most in that part of the world, so it's great to see some stations reactivating their shortwave transmission, and it's great to see. This country is a nation in West Central Africa called Equatorial Guinea, and it's a small nation. It used to be, back in the days of imperialism, it used to be a territory of Spain. So the native, the language I should say that's most common, I think official there in this country, is Spanish. And that's a remnant from those days. They have reactivated their shortwave station, and it's great to see. You know, this country, Equatorial Guinea, used to have 2 shortwave stations, and despite it being a small country, obviously it goes to show that for such a small country, still having 2 shortwave stations, it's obviously still relevant over there, and it still has listeners and applicability. And the first station, which has kind of been operating sporadically, is 50 kilowatts, operates on 5005 kilohertz, You'd have trouble hearing them here in North America or Europe. But it kind of serves as like a national radio, some news and such. And they would broadcast in Spanish, but it would be sporadic. So they might be on the air for a few hours one night, and then they'll be off the air for weeks. And they'll show up again, and then they'll be off the air again. They really don't run a schedule. Maybe it's because of electricity issues, or technical issues, or lack of caring. I don't really know. And then there was a second station in that country, and they operated on 20 kilowatts. And the station name is Radio Malabo. And some people were calling it Radio Malibu, but it's Malabo, M-A-L-A-B-O, I think it is. Pardon if it's incorrect. That's named after one of the cities, perhaps even the capital city. I don't believe it is, but at least it's a very prominent city in Equatorial Guinea. It's called Radio Malabo, and it runs 20 kilowatts, but they had been off the air since 2012. And of course, having them been off the air for 5 years now, it would be safe to assume, well, they're gone. Probably demolished, scrapped the transmitter, that's it. But they made a very surprising reappearance the other night, and I think they've been on the air since then. I think they're testing now, but there's a chance that you might be able to hear them in North America or Europe, especially during the evening hours, on the frequency of 6250 kilohertz, 6250 kilohertz. But they broadcast music for the most part, so it seems, and maybe some news too, but mostly music in Spanish. And apparently a lot of listeners who used to listen to it are very happy to see it back. I guess people enjoyed that station. And so they're back on the air. And it's great to see. It's finally great to see a shortwave station start bucking the trend and return to the airwaves instead of leaving it. Again, especially in the part of the world where still it's very useful and listened to, and it's just nice to see for once. So I wish them the best of luck, and I hope they stay for a while, really. Everything else is fairly quiet. No other stations kind of going off there. There is going to be a new station in Europe. I don't know what to think of it. It's a low power station. This is low power, maybe 1 kilowatt max. Playing the usual stuff. There's a lot of stations in Germany that already do this because they have some laws that let broadcasters set up low power shortwave stations. There's a bunch that do this. And they'll probably be playing oldies all the time, classic rock, but it's a competitive market. There's already a lot of shortwave stations that do that in Europe. But I guess they're going to try it out themselves. But they're going to set up starting August 1st. And they're going to be broadcasting on the frequency of 6160 kilohertz and 3975 kilohertz. And it's worrying to me, their frequency choice. I don't have a say in the matter, but I in a way protest their usage of the frequency 6160 kilohertz, because that CBC station that went off the air to gauge listenership, that was their frequency, and now this station is going to set it up and essentially, start using it, and now, I don't know what transmitter power they're running. I really hope that it's low power and wouldn't reach Canada, but if it's a higher power transmitter and they're using a higher power relay and it makes it into Canada, even if this CBC station reactivates, now they're going to have an interference issue, and now it's just going to bring it back up to the powers that be, who are probably just going to decide, oh, well, look at this, I went through all this and gave them money, and now their frequency is getting interfered with. Just shut it down, forget it, too much of a hassle. So I don't like it. There's a lot of room on the shortwave dial in that frequency range, especially during the hours they're going to broadcast on. I mean, just move the frequency to 6170 kilohertz. give 6160 its room. You know? It's my own 2 cents. Again, it doesn't look like it would interfere with it, but I don't know what transmitter power they're running. If they're just running a few kilowatts, it'll be okay. Won't make it across the Atlantic, really. But if they're running 50 kilowatts or 100 kilowatts or more, I would highly suggest they move frequencies, but I'm not one to tell them what to do. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the fan mail segment. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on with this program to the Mailbag Show. So what is the Mailbag Show, first and foremost? Well, it's a signature part of each VORW podcast in which I read and respond to listener letters. You can reach me at repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview1@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything on your mind that you have to say, really, you can email me it there, pretty much. And again, you just have anything on your mind, anything you want to share, anything you want to talk about, this is the place to do it. This is the place to let me know, and I can read and respond to it in the next show, and it's a place you can get in direct contact with me, you know, get an audio response on this show, and it's just fun all around. Standard disclaimer: due to the volume of letters that I often receive, and sometimes the occasional nature thereof, I cannot guarantee that your letter will receive a response. Now, every letter is kind of glazed over by my eyes, so I see every letter, I read it personally, but there's no guarantee it will be responded to on this show. And that's just because of the sheer volume, and again, because a lot of them have, you know, kind of, some of them, not all of them, but a number of them are done by trolls. They have kind of, you know, hidden messages in them, especially at the end where, you know, they say who it's from, and it looks like a regular name, and then when you read it, or they say to shout someone out, they write this really nice letter, and then, you know, they're just trying to get one up on me and mess me around, so I always have to kind of screen a couple, and I usually establish a quota of letters at around 20 per show, but sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, I'll read more. But I say that so you can keep in mind that if you write to this program, please write in with the expectation that your letter won't be read. And I say that because some people will put, you know, all their blood, sweat, and tears into this letter, and then if it's not read, they'll be quite angry. So I want you to just, if you write in, and I encourage writing in, you know, if no one writes in, there won't be a mailbag show. But if you write in, I encourage you to do so, again, with the expectation that it won't be read, so that you can, you know, prepare for it that way. And then if it gets read, it's a pleasant surprise. If it doesn't, well, no shock there, right? So with that being said, we will begin our letters. One other thing, I mentioned this earlier in the show, but I'll reiterate one thing about that. If this does appeal to you and you're interested in doing this in terms of the Teespring stuff, where you take a picture of the merchandise, you take a picture of you with the merchandise for the next show, and you send it to me, please express the fact that you want it shared in the next show. Because I respect everyone's privacy, and, you know, I'm not going to go and share your picture that you took unless, you know, you say it's okay to. So again, if that's something that you're interested in, please just express your, you know, express your consent to have it shared in the next show. You know, if you don't, I'm not going to, because again, I just respect your privacy. Our first letter, I want to get this out of the way. Essentially just to send a message. And then we'll get to the actual letters from people who really, truly deserve to be read. But again, I want to send a message to a specific person here. There was an individual, and you submitted some fan art. Your email's titled "Fan Art!" And you had sent an email before titled "Fan Recommendation," and your name is Emma V. Well, number one, I know you're not who you say you are. I know that for a fact. And number two, I'm very well aware of who you're tied to, who likely put you up to it, or who you really are. And it was a very stupid thing that you did, truth be told. You sent this piece of fan art. The person sent a picture. That's fine. You know, I always appreciate the fan art. And they say, here's some fan art that took me 13 days to finish. Hope you like it. Now effing answer my other email now. You effing... Well, that's very nice. Wonder what that other email said. Let's see. Wait a minute. Well, that's odd. I'm a huge fan. Could you please collaborate with so-and-so? I wonder if perhaps my refusal to do that, or perhaps lack of response or care to that, drew such a harsh criticism. Very interesting. If you want to keep taking low shots like that, go for it, but all I'm going to be doing is shaking my head at you because it's disgraceful, and you will not accomplish anything through stuff like that, so that is all in that regard. Sorry for anyone who was an unintended recipient of that, but it needed to be done. Again, just to send the message, because otherwise, I don't know. I just gotta know I'm not gonna take their BS. Now we can actually read some real letters. Again, I'm sorry for that. I just have to deal with stuff like this all the time. And also, if that... Oh, let's see. Now on to some nice people, of which there are many good letters to read and respond to here. So let's see what we have. Our first letter, and let's just make sure that we're first, recording here. Of which we are, that's fine then. Good. Let me, Google review of Pizza Famiglia. Hey review brah, after your hilarious tale of the worst pizza you ever had, I decided to look up the place on Google, and I found this review that sounds very familiar. Is this you? Cheers, man. Keep up the good work, from Jim. So I looked it up myself. And apparently, for famous Famiglia pizza, you remember that if you listen to the last one. Let me see this. And you check the Google reviews. Apparently, an individual submitted a review 2 weeks ago that said, I bought a $6 slice of pizza from this dump and it fell apart in my hands. The pizza was served in tin foil with no plate that burnt my hand. It was paper thin, tasted as bad as it looked. Beyond disgusting, totally inedible, 0.05 out of 10. Someone thought that was me, and obviously it's someone who, listened to the last VORW and took inspiration from that. No, that wasn't me. That was just someone doing it for the laugh out louds, as they say. But no, that wasn't me. Dear Review Brah, I admire your commitment to timely and thorough food reviews. If you'd be so kind, review Domino's sandwiches. I'm quite curious about this item. Regards from Edna. Edna, thank you. Well, Domino's sandwiches are... well, that's something I can consider. I was thinking about Domino's earlier, honestly. I was going through some old videos of mine. Lately I've been really trying to work hard on this channel and update some of the descriptions and, all that stuff. And I was going through some of the old reviews, and I made it to the old Domino's pan pizza review. And I was looking at that. You know what? I mean it when I say it. It's sad. It is incredibly sad, and I'm not gonna but this is just a theory of mine. Domino's for me, and I understand now that this isn't just a regional decline. I mean, this is nationwide. Because I've tried this stuff, everywhere. I've tried it through the East Coast. I've tried it in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. And most strikingly to me, because I last had Domino's about a week or two ago, I think back to 2012, the first time when they released the pan pizza. And I think you're familiar with it. There was a big release. It was there to replace the deep dish pizza, which I still mourn to this day. That was an awesome pizza, their deep dish one. I loved it. And they brought back the pan pizza to replace it. I remember when I first tried it in 2012. I mean, it was awesome. And you look at that pan pizza review I did from 2012. I mean, come on, that was the most beautiful pan pizza I've ever seen from Domino's. And I thought that was just, the standard. Boy, was I wrong there. But no, that was a beauty of a pizza right there. And I realized it was because it was newly released. And when an item gets newly released, if the place really, cares, they'll put some real, love into it, and they're gonna do it good. I wish they were like that, but they've gone so far downhill now. I'll explain this. So, a couple of weeks ago, it was maybe a week and a half ago, I was hungry. I don't like going out much, so I stay in a lot. And I was hungry. And there's one big benefit that Domino's still has to this day, and that's delivery. And they deliver late. So, it was midnight. I was hungry. No other pizza place was delivering at that hour. Pizza Hut, they were closed. Papa John's, they were closed. Domino's, they were delivering till 2 a.m. So what other choice did I have? I wanted pizza, and they were delivering. Well, of course I was going to get it. I got myself a pepperoni pan pizza, and I also got myself an order of the cheesy bread. The cheesy bread with the, what was it? The bacon and jalapeno cheesy bread. Now, the cheesy bread held its own. My compliments to them on that. They managed to still be consistent with it. That was good. I recommend it from there. But of course, you're really paying for the pizza. They call it a side for a reason. It's a side to the main course, and the pizza is the main course. Oh, boy. I was so disappointed when I saw the pizza, and it's sad. Again, it's sad, and, I used to go to Domino's all the time. It used to be so good, and then they really went downhill, and this is at multiple ones, thousands of miles away that I've noticed this at. I was sitting out there. It took them a little while, but eventually the delivery man got there. I tipped them nice. I always, try and give them a good tip. I mean, they drove out of their way, especially in the middle of the night, to get me this pizza, so of course, they deserve it for their time. And I was listening to the shortwave, as I was waiting. Worked out fine. But I tried this pizza, and it was repulsive. I mean, it looked as though someone, vomited on this pizza, and then swirled it around with a spoon a bit, and bon appetit. Because it was unrecognizable from a pizza. It wasn't even cut. And it was like someone threw up on it. It was just this mess. There wasn't even any sort of even area of toppings. It's like someone kind of... Think of it this way, right? Imagine you got this pizza molten out of the oven. So everything is still kind of liquidy, and the toppings are still not even really fully sunken in yet. You take this pizza, and you just fold it over on top of itself, kind of leave it there for a couple seconds, and unfold it. Everything's going to be completely messed up at this point. And it's like that's what happened, because the pizza was completely uncut. I mean, even at the bottom, there were no little, marks from where they had tried to cut it. I mean, it was uncut. Just a complete disc. And it was like someone folded it over on top of itself, and it was a mess. It tasted okay, but even that wasn't even that good. But, talk about beautiful presentation. But, still, I don't blame the delivery driver. He wasn't the guy that made the pizza. He just brought it to me. It's not his fault. But anyway, the sandwiches, they might hold their own. It's on the table. It's on the table. Something I can put forth consideration moving forward into the future. So definitely, it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. Okay. Our next one. Let's see. Alright, well, may as well get one going for radio-wise. Hey, Review Bra. I know you get a ton of emails and don't generally reply via email, but I'd love to hear your opinion on something. I've become fascinated with the idea of shortwave radio after binge listening to your YouTube VORWs and hearing your frequent segments discussing your broadcasts, listening to shortwave news about stations around the world, etc. Anyway, he mentions, and I'll leave a few things out of this, that he's interested in perhaps starting his own show, and I've gotten a few other emails about this too, so if you're interested in about this is going to serve as a blanket answer, really, to cover everything. He says, based on various VORWs who use WBCQ and WRMI in the United States, I contacted them and various other broadcasters as I found on Google. I received their prices, and I also heard from WWCR, which is very expensive. WWCR, forget about them. They're very expensive, and you're not getting your money's worth. I know you've had an interesting time dealing with people in Europe, but the fact that it's a central location near less developed nations that rely more on shortwave radio could increase listenership. Of course, the number of listeners that speak English may be fewer in the U.S. All of that is to ask, how do you recommend going about getting a show on the airwaves? Should I just ignore Europe for the lack of English speakers and difficulty dealing with foreign management? Try it out at WBCQ. I'd love a response, and keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Well, I'm going to answer your question and anyone else's. If you're interested in doing a show on shortwave radio, number one, it's something that I highly recommend. Shortwave really isn't commercialized, and because it's not a commercialized medium, I mean, there's true freedom when it comes to shortwave. Because I've learned a valuable lesson that really, people will only care about stuff if there's tons of advertisers on it. Shortwave, they broker airtime. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's the equivalent of the Wild West of radio, for instance. And it's going to stay that way because shortwave has declined enough in the U.S. for the FCC to give up on it. They don't care about it anymore. And it's just a lot of fun. And you're going to hear, you'd hear independent programming on it that you wouldn't hear on any other stations, AM or FM. And it's also a place, of course, where you can make a program of your own and have it broadcast with such incredible ease. With that, if you're going to do a program, determine your audience. Okay, who do you want to reach on shortwave? Do you want to reach... you got to think of it this way. Do you want to reach a audience of hobbyists? Do you want to reach listeners in the developed world who are looking for alternative opinions and sources of news media, or just programming in general? Or do you want to reach an audience in the developing world? Now, if you want to reach an audience in the developing world, the areas that you would want to target would be, of course, Africa, the Middle East. Closer to home, you could actually target the Caribbean, Cuba especially. Apparently shortwave listenership is very high in Cuba, Central America and parts of South America, and also parts of Southeast Asia. Now, if you're going to target those areas, I have some very valuable advice, and this is going to be very important when it comes to actually broadcasting. And in terms of broadcasting, you simply reach out to the station, determine your price quote, agree to it, pay, and then you can send them the file. I know WBCQ, you can get a file sent to them on Dropbox. That's very easy. WRMI, they use an FTP server, but they're actually very, they're very lenient on that kind of stuff. So if you don't have an FTP, you don't want to work with that kind of stuff, just let them know, and they'll, they use Google Drive too. They're very up to date in that kind of stuff too. But if you utilize European station Spaceline Ltd, they use an FTP exclusively. So you need to download an FTP client to get the file transferred there, most likely. Well, anyway, one very important thing to notice if you want to target listeners in the developing world: lack of response does not mean no response. If you establish a place for listeners to write letters, I would guarantee you that you would be getting letters from listeners from those parts of the world. Because not everyone has internet. If the internet is there, it might be too expensive to use. It might be internet censorship, but there are listeners out there. Okay? Please remember that. So even if you don't get a ton of response, you don't hear from the countries that you want to hear from, don't give up hope. And don't think, well, just because no one contacted me doesn't mean that no one is listening. There are plenty of people listening. I mean, I listen to shortwave every night, and I live, in the media-rich United States. And do I write to every single station every single time that I listen? No, absolutely not. I barely, I don't write in on a daily basis even. I'll write in somewhat. I wrote into, I think, Radio Romania pretty recently, let them know I was listening, but, I don't write into stations all the time, yet I still tune in, and I still listen. Doesn't mean that I'm not listening. So, that's something to remember in terms of that listener correspondence. Now, in terms of broadcasters and where to target, though, if you want to reach a domestic audience in the U.S., then go with WBCQ. They're best at targeting the lower 48 and parts of Canada. That's where your signal will be heard best. Okay? If you want to target Central America or South America or Cuba, use WRMI. If you want to target Western North America, use WRMI. And if you want to target Europe, and I understand that you mentioned this, and your main question was regarding targeting Europe. Well, again, it all comes down to who you want to reach. There's more English speakers out there than you think. Keep that in mind, too. You'd be surprised. I mean, there's more English speakers out there than you think. There really are. There's parts of Africa and the Middle East where, 40%, 50%, sometimes higher of the population can speak fluent English. Even if, they're in a developing nation, they can still speak English pretty darn good. And there's a reason why the Voice of America and the BBC and DW and Radio France and all of these news broadcasters on shortwave still maintain English services to these parts of the world because there's still listeners there that speak English. So, if you'd like, you can use a European-based facility. I would recommend Spaceline Ltd. You can contact them if you want to go this route. You can contact them, determine a quote. They might, take a little while to respond, and if they don't get back in a week, resend the email, and then they might get it. But go from there. And if you want to reach you know, especially the Middle East, for instance, and North Africa. I mean, my own European service, which is beamed from Bulgaria over to Central Europe, you know, it makes it in those parts of the world still. It makes it in North Africa. It's heard loud and clear throughout the Middle East. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's people, I mean, it's hard to imagine, but given the quality of the signal and how strong it is, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, now every Sunday there's people over in Iran and Syria and, you know, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, that might be scanning around on their shortwave radios and might come across VORW and might tune in, and they might never write in, they might not have the ability to, but they still might listen. So you get some good bang for your buck there, and also the broadcast can be heard throughout Eastern Europe as well. And while that's getting more developed, you know, I think there's still a good amount of shortwave radios that are in use in that area too, especially from the Cold War days. You know, those radios can really last, and some people still, you know, use them quite heavily. So if you have any further questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer. I can, you know, I can go on and on and on and on about shortwave radio, so just feel free to ask. Anyway, our next letter. Okay, I'll answer this one since we were just talking about it. Hi, I've been watching your channel since 2013 and just now decided to write something in. I'm extremely new to radios and I'm interested in them. And I'd love to have some questions answered by you because you're familiar with them. Is there any difference between the Texun PL660 and the PL880? And is there a difference between ham radio and shortwave radio? Thanks, from Izzy. Thanks, Izzy. Well, think of it this way, right? It's just different generations, you know? Think of it this way, to put it in into something that, you know, everyone would understand. When you look at a phone, right, a smartphone, sometimes they'll update, you know, you'll have a first generation smartphone, you'll have a second generation, whatever, it could be a different brand of phone or type, but, you know, they might have Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 17, and 54, and, you know, so on. And from one to the other, there's not tremendous updates, but there's a few little tweaks and, you know, minor things usually, but nothing too significant when they update from one generation to the next in terms of these technological products. Well, consider this to be the exact same thing. They're both very much similar. The 880 is more expensive, but probably has better performance than the 660, but honestly, if you want to save the money, you know, you might be a little tight on funds, I would say go with the 660. It's my radio of choice, it's the one that I always break out, and I can personally attest to the fact that it's a good radio, it works out good, and I would recommend you go with that one. You can go with the 880 if you're feeling it. I know of listeners who tune in on that radio and have reported good reception and, you know, a really good experience with it, but it's up to you. But the 660 is what I would recommend. It's a good radio, and you can go for that. The Texun, T-E-C-S-U-N, PL-660. Alright, let's see our next listener letter. Let's see. Good afternoon. I am a firefighter and paramedic in a large Midwest urban city. You and I don't share many, if any, similarities. I love sports and the company of others. I don't understand the draw to shortwave radio, and I'm not a fan of the food you review. That being said, I have been and continue to be a loyal fan of yours. I sincerely appreciate your originality and your genuine personality. Even though you have a particular taste, you never judge others based on what they enjoy in life. I cannot understate what an amazing quality that is in a human being. I'd like to give you a piece of your own advice, if I may. Keep doing what you like to do, regardless of what others may think. Those who make negative remarks about you are insecure about themselves. I wish nothing but continued success for you and all you do, and I will remain a steadfast fan, I can assure you of that. Sending you positive thoughts your way. Take care. Sincerely, Jake. P.S. How's your back doing? Hopefully you're recovering well. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for your kind letter. I appreciate it. I appreciate your concern in regards to the back. And it's doing a bit better now. You know, it took a while to heal. Oh boy, that was an injury and a half, but it finally healed. And let's just hope something like that doesn't happen again too soon. I mean, it inevitably will, I figure. But let's hope it doesn't happen again too soon. And, well, thank you for your kind words, and I really do appreciate it. I thank you for that, you know, and I'm glad you enjoy the channel and all that it has, and it's great to have you here. It really is. It's great to have you here. And thank you for your kind words. You know, I always like to really try and press no judgment upon others, and, you know, individuality, it's one of those things that I really respect, and, you know, you can be who you want to be. And if, you know, you can be the complete and total polar opposite of me, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I don't have anything wrong with that. Some people want to have everyone just like themselves, or, you know, be just like them, believe the exact same thing they do, and if not, there's something wrong with you. You be you, I'll be me. We could coexist. It's just fine. But no, you can, you know, you just be the person that you are, you want to be, and that's completely fine. So thank you for your kind words, and I hope you have a great one. Okay. Dear Review Bra, hello. I've been watching and listening to your videos for over 3 years now, ever since another YouTuber, that Zach, tweeted out your Suicide Wings review, and I have been hooked ever since. My favorite videos of yours are definitely the VORWs. I hope you increase the output to what they were earlier in this calendar year. I have a few questions that I would like for you to discuss or answer, and feel free to discuss them all or pick your favorite. Thank you for all the great content that you put out. I look forward to your next video. All the best from AJ. Thanks, AJ. And I think I talked about the output issue, but I appreciate your comments, and I've noted that down. So, question 1. What is your favorite meal not found at a fast food restaurant? Surely you have a go-to dish to prepare or eat when treating yourself. Well, I'll answer. You know, it all depends. It really all depends on the definition of, you know, not fast food. I mean, I could take that question many a way. You know, I can say, well, of course, pizza, right? I mean, it's not necessarily fast food, though some would consider it such, but it takes longer, of course, to make a pizza. But there's always pizza. Little sandwiches, you know, simple sandwiches I can like, even just a peanut butter jelly sandwich, a little BLT sandwich. If I really want to spice things up, I can go to Publix and get the Publix chicken tender sub, legendary sandwich it is. Get them tossed in buffalo sauce, so that's a great one. You know, you can say steaks. I'm not a huge steak eater, though, you know. I mean, my goodness, the last time I had a steak was, it's been probably over a year now. You know, so I'm not a huge, because steaks, you know, they cost a lot of money, and I try to eat on the cheap, and I like pizza and burgers and chicken wings and sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not a real, I might dress or appear formally, but I'm not a real formal eater. You know, I like food that everyone else likes, and sometimes you can kick it up and a notch and have some upscale stuff too, but you know, I keep it somewhat varied. So it all depends, really. Question 2, what is your favorite type of tie knot and why? My favorite tie knot is the, and it all depends, but usually it's the half Windsor. That's my knot of choice. Sometimes it depends on the tie. Sometimes I'll tie a full Windsor knot, but otherwise, it's usually, on most days, the half Windsor knot. So that's the tie knot of choice there, the half Windsor. In late 2011, see, in my first videos, and if you have absolutely nothing better that you want to do, you can go ahead and, do this if you want. But if you notice, in the early reviews that I did, through 2011, for the most part, you can see that the tie knot that I use looks different than the one that I use nowadays. And that's because the tie knot that I first was using when I began these videos was the 4-in-hand knot. And I think they consider that like the basic beginner's knot for ties and tie wearing. Though I actually, I wear the 4-in-hand knot still today. But now I tie the 4-in-hand knot when I'm wearing a wing collar or an imperial collar, because if you look at all the old pictures of when they wore those types of collars, you can see it's always tied with a 4-in-hand knot, because it just seems to work the best with the style of collar. That's a different story. It's for another day. Otherwise, though, I just now I use the half Windsor knot. Sometimes a full Windsor, depending on the tie, though. But usually a half Windsor. And I switched over to that knot in late 2011, and totally phased out the 4-in-hand knot for my standard suits in 2012, I would say. So there was a transition that happened there. And your final, or let's see. No, that's all we got. That's all that we got. Alright, thank you, AJ. Thanks for the questions. It was a pleasure to answer them. Let's continue. Okay. Dear John, aka Review Bra, I realize that your fame and busy schedule will probably prevent you from even noticing my email, but here I go anyhow. My name is Elissa, and I am a huge fan of yours. I recently graduated high school, and many of the friends that I had for a large portion of my life were lost due to conflict. Because of this, I've found myself developing loneliness this summer. On top of that, I am extremely nervous about becoming a college student. The point of telling you all this will eventually come to fruition. I stumbled across your videos on YouTube, and I immediately became addicted. Addicted with just about everything, and your content. You are one of a kind and do not fail to put a smile on my face even during troubling times like this. I realize that my problems are quite minuscule, and there are more pressing matters in this world of ours, yet watching your videos makes these problems disappear for 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm always ecstatic to watch and re-watch your average day videos. I hope I don't come off as too big of a creep. I just wanted to let you know that you're amazing, and I appreciate your loyalty to your many fans. Although I know you probably won't notice the emails, I apologize for any errors within my little spiel, and thank you again for doing what you do. Your fan always, Elissa. Well, thank you, Elissa. To address your letter there, number one, I thank you for your kind words. Thank you for that. Sorry, I was just taking a sip of water there. Thank you for your kind words there, and it always amazes me that these videos of mine can help other people out in those ways. Again, I expressed this earlier. I touched on it a little bit. But, I never had any intention or any sort of idea that this channel would ever help people out in those ways. But thank you very kindly for that. And it really does mean a lot. And it's things like that that also really give me the drive and the motivation to keep these videos going, that I know for a fact, it's not just for people watching them for the memes or people to laugh at them, but, some people that these videos really do, legitimately help out too, in those ways, and it's really incredible in that regard. So thank you first for that. And secondly, to address one thing, I know it can be, a bit of a bit scary and nervous to kind of make that transition. I think it's, really a transition that, everyone, can experience multiple times if someone's transitioning from middle school to high school, transitioning schools, going from homeschool to public school or to private school, or going from high school to college. I think everyone, in some way or another, will feel some sort of nervous apprehension when it comes to going into that different environment, and different people, and different dilemmas and problems to await you, so it seems. But one thing to remember when it comes down to all of that, we have our worries, I admit. I remember sometimes when I was in high school, I would think back to the first day. Well, there was one first day that I had, which was a nightmare. It's just non-stop, non-stop, people being really awful to me. But, I stood up about it, and I said, well, I'm not going to take that kind of crap. So I switched I changed my complete schedule and got out of there, and that worked fine. That was an end to that. But otherwise, and this is just something that I realized, and as time progressed, I realized it even more and more. All of that kind of stuff is really just completely and totally trivial. Sometimes these problems might seem really big, but in the long run, it's all trivial for the most part. It all is. It's something that really will have no sort of effect or impact. Most of our worries end up proven false. And something to realize is that all the people, all these people that you see out there, and they all have the same worries that you do for the most part. Some people might say, well, it's not true, in response to what I'm about to say. But a lot of people are too focused on themselves, their own issues, what people might think of them, what they have to do on that day, than really focus on you or anyone else. All I can really say, in short, is it's not going to be as bad as you think. It's true. It's not going to be as bad as you think, and you'll get through it unscathed. But it's nowhere near as bad as you think. And I learned that. I'd realized time and again, all my worrying was for naught. It was for nothing. So that's where that stands. Boy, I was getting some serious deja vu just now. I was sitting there, I was going through the emails to read the next letter, and I was just looking, in this exact situation. It felt like I had already done this, looking at these same emails in this order, and the next one I was going to read, and ooh, that was crazy, but it happens. Though it's likely that I had found myself in this exact situation before, because I oftentimes record the letter segment at night, and I'm oftentimes sitting in the exact same place, and I've already looked at these emails before to mark them for being read, so it's quite possible. Okay, our next letter, VORW, write in. Greetings, Review Bra. I certainly hope this letter finds you in good spirits. I personally seem to be doing okay. I recently moved and find myself struggling to find full-time work. This certainly takes a toll on a young man's self-worth. Truth be told, I have been struggling ever since exiting the military a few years ago. You go from having lots of responsibility at a young age to working a menial job after exiting the service. I am optimistic, however, as I only have one semester left before graduating with my bachelor's. I recently discovered the VORW radio a few weeks ago, and I have enjoyed it tremendously. It's become a highlight of my leisure time. I hope you can continue to produce these, as you certainly have an aptitude for radio. I'll be purchasing the Texan PL660 per your recommendation. For content suggestions, I'd love to hear more on men's dress as well as men's etiquette. I think these would be great topics to dive deeper into. You have inspired me to dress better, something I have always wanted to do. Thank you for your time, and I hope all remains well. Regards from Taylor. Thank you, Taylor. And number one, thank you for your kind words there. I wish you the best of luck in your situation. It's good to see, though, that you'll be graduating soon, and I really do hope everything works out well for you in that regard. And if you do obtain the Texan PL660, and I know I mentioned the frequencies earlier in the show, but if you want a frequency guide, let me know. I'll send you one and help you pick up the show best, and that goes for anyone, really. And thank you for your suggestions, too. You know, it's been suggestions from people like you that have finally gotten me to, start working on the next random video I'm going to do. And it's going to start getting into the kind of menswear thing, and I'm not going to be one of those, and I was watching a video, I saw these guys, kind of like fashion gurus. These guys, they run like maybe a haberdashery or a suit store or something like that in London. And they're fashionable, well-dressed men, but they have a cockiness to it all, where they were sitting there saying, come on, don't wear this, don't do that, never wear a short sleeve shirt, never have a pocket on your shirt, you're gonna look like a fool, I'm gonna be laughing at you if you do that, and all this nasty stuff. And I would never want to present that attitude to clothing, because I can always offer my 2 cents, but in the end I want you to think freely and really do what you want to do in terms of that. And I had to laugh because as I was watching their video, I was wearing everything that they said not to wear. I was sitting there wearing, pleated, drapey dress pants, a short sleeve dress shirt, a wider tie from the 90s, the shirt had a pocket on it with pens in it too, and it was everything they were saying not to do, and it was like, I kind of had a little laugh at that. But anyway, I was saying the first video I'm going to start doing, random video-wise, is why I wear suits all the time. And it's going to talk about how I kind of, came out to start wear these suits all the time, and how I kind of started that out, how I built the collection, how I found out what type of suits I like to wear, and I'll even showcase a few of my suits, and it should make for an interesting video, something that I hope, if you're interested, you can give it a watch, and I'm just gonna kind of start talking about that, and we'll see how it goes. It's again be like a bit of a test, but we'll see how it works out. So thank you for your suggestions, and they're appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, a YouTube program which discusses matters pertinent to this YouTube channel, where I also read and respond to listener letters. At this point, we are in the midst of our fan mail segment, where I read and respond to our listener letters. If you'd like to contact, you can email repweekinterview1@gmail.com. If this program is, by chance, relayed on a shortwave frequency, which it occasionally sometimes is, please note that this show has no affiliation to me in terms of the relay. It is simply being relayed by a free radio operator out of good faith. Still, if you are listening, legitimate reception reports welcome at vorwinfo@gmail.com. Well, we have a couple more letters to read, so let's sit back down, get comfortable, and see what they are. Okay. Let's see what we have. Dear John, I just finished listening to the VORW at work. Thanks for keeping me company all the time with your broadcasts. I originally wanted to ask about shortwave radio recommendations, as I was delighted to hear the Europe broadcast is on again. I'm looking through thrift shops and pawn shops right now, but I'm thinking about saving up a bit and buying the machines you suggested. I have a question for you, or rather a suggestion. Would you consider doing a review where you would do a comparison of Pepsi and Coca-Cola? I was just having an argument with my brother, as he prefers Coca-Cola, but I think Pepsi has much better flavor. We both couldn't really articulate our points concerning the taste, and I immediately thought about you. I think you can make a great comparison of two kinds of great value fresh water. I think you would have no problem providing insightful comments for these two competitors. I also think it may bring up some new viewers, even though I understand that's not the reason why you make your videos. Can't wait to see your new merch coming out. Hope you're doing well. Regards, Tom, Czech Republic. Thanks, Tom. And it's great to have you listening regularly to the radio broadcast, too. And if you ever do get a shortwave radio to listen on, I imagine the signal would be very strong and clear for you over in the Czech Republic. Thank you for the suggestion, by the way. I think that may very well actually be something that I may pursue at some point. I was thinking about something like that earlier, actually, and I think that might be something I'm actually going to do. I mean, it's been a long-standing feud, Coke versus Pepsi. That goes way back to the 80s. But it's something that people still talk about. And, it might be a little fun thing. I could do it outside and kind of film, side-by-side comparison. I have a clear loyalty, but I think it'd be fun to kind of give them both a shot. And, just to go for it. So, I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Tom. And I think it may very well be one that I actually intend to pursue going forward. Thank you again. Our next letter Dear Report of the Week, congratulations on achieving the milestone of 300,000 subscribers. It's been an extraordinarily exciting year for the Report of the Week channel, and I'd like to thank you for staying true to the form and style of content that has attracted us all as viewers over the years. It is rare to find someone with such a unique personality, and even rarer to find someone who remains true to themselves no matter how popular they become. Here's to the next major milestone of 500,000, likely to happen rather soon, I'd wager. Heck, I'd say you'll be celebrating 1 million within 12 months. I have a query for you. I'd love to know the methods by which you clean and care your shirts, trousers, and suits. Do you prefer a garment steamer to an iron? Do you dry clean your jackets and trousers? If so, how often? Thank you for taking the time to read this. I wish you all the best. Kind regards, Brandon. Thanks, Brandon. And thank you, number 1, for your kind words. And number 2, for your question as well. And I actually like the how you did the email there. I think it's actually really neat that you typed it up and had it as a PDF. Really is like a nice letter there, so I appreciate that, and thank you first and foremost for that. Thought it was cool. Secondly, to get to your question in terms of the dry cleaning. Now, personally, in terms of the dress shirts, first and foremost, unless it specifies otherwise, I simply wash it, in a washing machine. Though the detachable collar shirts, those are different. Those have to be taken in. I use a standard iron because it does the job sufficiently. And oftentimes many of the shirts themselves are actually wrinkle resistant. It's very interesting how that is, but it actually keeps a lot of the initial wrinkles that can happen out of the shirts. So that's number 1, a very interesting thing, but they're ironed as needed. And number 2, I take them in for dry cleaning the suits. I take them in again on an as-needed basis. I do give them a regular cleaning at regular intervals. It all depends also on the suit itself. you know, there's some suits that I wear a lot more than others. I mean, I have some suits that I will wear maybe once every 2-3 weeks, or more, and I have suits that I will wear twice a week, perhaps. So it all depends on the suit, how much, you know, I wear it, the rotation, and it's taken in on an as-needed basis, but always, you know, pretty regularly. Boy, dry cleaning, if you want alterations done, now that is expensive. You know, there's this one place, I kind of shake my fist at them. I mean, you know, I don't really do too much tailoring in terms of the, because I like to have a nice drape, really, for the suits, and as a result, of course, you know, I don't need to really bring them in much, but on occasion, adjustments need to be made, especially with the pants. Usually, if they're too long, sometimes I'll get a, you know, a cuff or adjust the hem, or sometimes if they're too short, I need to take it out a little bit. But sometimes with some of the pants, especially some of the older pants that are maybe 30 or so years old, the thread that holds the little hem together can kind of wear out, and I need to get that fixed. Well, there was one time when I took a, you know, suit in to get cleaned and get the pants fixed. She charged me $55 for that. You know, I thought to myself, that's a crazy rate right there. It's expensive, but, you know, sometimes it needs to be done. Sometimes it you know, it's got to get done. That's all. So thank you again for your kind letter there. Congrats on 300k review, brah. Your Denny's video was one of my favorites of your entire YouTube career. When you say that you don't understand how big the community has become, as a long-time listener, I think I can explain why it's taken off now. You might not realize it, but your professionalism, delivery, and production quality have really improved over the years, and it's amazing how polished it's all become. You'll probably hit 500,000 by the end of the year. I hope you realize. Keep up the great work, and if I could make a request, I would ask for you to make a small series of videos introducing shortwave to novices like myself, and maybe even a brief tour of all the current programs available around the world and when. As for food, have you considered doing another Dunkin' Donuts drink or food review? Best regards, Carl. Thank you, Carl. Number one, sorry, I'm trying to get my water here. Number one, thank you for your kind words, as always. And, you know, I guess the production has gotten a little better. I know some things are responsible in one way or another for the, you know, the growth of the channel. I know if I used the same camera that I did in 2014, and, you know, I still had comments disabled and saw the lighting as it was, the channel wouldn't be where it is right now. And I have to understand that some of those technical factors really play a big role, because I guess the content can have one thing, but it also needs an appeal to mass audience as well. Though if anyone's curious, the old camera, I know the first one broke and then I bought the replacement, but that replacement camera, you know, the old, I guess analog camera, you know which one I'm talking about, from days ago. Yeah, no, days have passed. I still have that camera. Actually, I have it sitting on the shelf there, and I actually busted it out the other day. Would you believe that? Nothing I'd ever upload, but I wanted to film some of the cats while I was gone, and I was out getting some food to eat, and while I was gone I kind of wanted to film the cats, kind of, you know, what they might do while they, you know, while they have free run, and so I busted out the old camera, and, you know, had some fun with it. So it's still active, it's still in use, and even though it may not be used really for the channel anymore, the old camera is alive well, and it was actually just put to work pretty recently for a good session of filming. I filmed for around 40 minutes or so, so it's the old camera is still alive, well, and still in use. If any of you are big fans of that, you could all know I'm still showing it some love, and you know, it's still being put into action there. Interesting that you mention a series in regards to shortwave radio. I think if I do that, I would have to do it rather carefully. I could see how a video like that could work when appealing to, again, the mass audience and not just the folks who like VORW. But it would need to be done in a very specific way, because the shortwave radio is something that either most people don't know what it is, or most people think of, you know, their old uncle sitting on the ham radio or something, and that's it, and it doesn't seem very appealing. So, you know, I would have to tread carefully with it, because I remember when I did my shortwave VORW lecture back in 2014, at the first start of the VORW show. I mean, everyone hated it so much I had to make an apology about it, because people were telling me how awful it was and how they despised it, really, and even despised me as a result of it. People actually went that far, because they wanted to see me talking about a burger instead of radio, and it was disheartening. But, you know, maybe one day I can try my luck with it again and test the waters now, 3.5 years later, and, you know, I know demographics have changed and the audience has changed, and maybe for better, maybe otherwise, but, well, I think we all know the saying, right? Won't know till you try. So, something I won't leave the possibility of, you know, out of the question. It could happen. You know, it really, realistically could happen. So again, thank you for your suggestion there. And I mean, it's something that I would have no problem doing. It would be quite a bit of fun for me to do that. And I could easily do it. It would just be a means of actually filming and presenting it all. So thank you again. Oh, don't tell me the computer froze on me. Well, why did it do that? Had these emails bookmarked there, and now it's freezing on me. Alright. Well, such things happen. I'm trying to... It's like the screen froze on me completely here. Not responding, it says. Oh, boy. I might have to... If it recovers... Otherwise, I'm gonna have to take a break here and get all my windows back up. Oh, saved. Alright. Dodged a bullet, folks. See, there was an issue. I keep the email open, and I try to bookmark the emails that I'm going to read in the program, because the Rep Week interview address, now that it's working again, going back to when I had first, the first emails I got for the show, there were almost 500 emails that had came in since then, since the 12th, I think it is. So, as a result, of course, I had to mark the ones I wanted to read, or else I get lost in the sea of emails. And the screen kind of froze on me, and then it said, you know, the dreaded, in parentheses, not responding. That's, you never ever want to see that next to a window. That means, oh boy, you know, it's gonna, you're going to lose everything you had up there. But it recovered from itself, and that's great. This laptop, I know it's not the newest one, but it's so trusty. It's such a great laptop, and it's a great computer. You know, it really is. It's much more reliable than the Chromebook, if you'd believe that. Even though the Chromebook is newer and sleeker, and, you know, people probably find it more aesthetically pleasing, this laptop, I mean, I'm dead serious. The laptop might be from 2012 or so, but it's faster than the Chromebook, runs more programs than the Chromebook, and is more reliable than the Chromebook too. As a matter of fact, the Chromebook would have these issues where sometimes it wouldn't be able to load certain things, or you would have too many windows open or whatever, and it would just suddenly shut off and restart. And I would lose everything pretty much I had up there, and stuff I was working on, whatever. This one, it's never even happened to me once. It's awesome. It's a amazing laptop. Does a great job and hasn't let me down. Hasn't let me down. Okay. Let's see what else there is. Hey, Review Bri, I've been watching your YouTube channel for some time now, and I know that you have your own radio broadcast. I'm not much of a radio person, but I want to start listening to it. How can I listen to the broadcast in California? I would appreciate if you could help me out. Thank you, and keep being yourself. Well, thank you. Number one, please consult the ways that I mentioned to listen earlier in the broadcast, and you could easily tune in effortlessly at the appointed times on TuneIn. However, if you want to listen on radio, you can purchase a shortwave radio. I would recommend the Texan PL660, though I would also, if you don't have as much money, the Texan PL380 or 310 ET are just as good, and more inexpensive but equally reliable models. And if you want to listen on shortwave, the frequency for the West Coast is 7730 kilohertz. That's 7730 kilohertz. So 7730 is the frequency. And there's listeners in California who listen almost on a weekly basis, and have been able to successfully report good reception. So, the broadcast gets out there. That's the frequency, 7730, and the time is 8 p.m. Eastern. I believe that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's 5 p.m. Pacific time. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. To all of you listeners out there in California, 7730 is the frequency there. Okay, let's see. Let's see how long we're recording for. Okay. We have this email here. Dear John, hello. Sorry for my absence of letters over the past weeks. I just want to say congratulations for hitting 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. I remember first finding your channel somewhere around 45,000, and to think now that your viewership has grown so much, it's very impressive. As my dad says, don't forget your humble origins. Recently I've been following your VORW shortwave programs on SoundCloud. I don't own a shortwave receiver, and I live here in Australia, so I doubt I would have been able to tune in anyway. The SoundCloud program is very refreshing, and I enjoy the diversity in music that you play. The second semester of university begins this Monday, and this time around I have enrolled in 5 subjects: Japanese Level 1, Neuropsychology, Stats, Communications, and a very strange class called the Psychology of Everyday Thinking. I'm very excited for all my classes bar the latter. While reading over the course profile for Everyday Thinking, I saw that part of the class's grades came from the amount of discussion you contribute to the class's subreddit. I'm very displeased with this, to be frank with you. Moreover, than just disliking that I am being made to use a website I don't like to pass a class, last semester one of my tutors asked the class to live tweet the lectures, and, well, it's the changing shape of the university system directly happening under my nose. I'm the type of person who enjoys attending lectures for hours with pen and paper. Oh well, I wonder what your thoughts are on the continuous shift to the education system are. With or without the changes, I'm still looking forward to this semester regardless. Thanks for the extra work you've been putting into your channel recently. And I also have enjoyed the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest as well as the NBA Suit Review. Yours truly, Liam. Thank you, Liam. Well, I think it's, you know, like it or not, it's the sign of the times. Personally, it would not connect with me, and that type of teaching strategy would only really hurt my learning ability than help it. Because I, too, would prefer just a standard lecture, you know, with the professor essentially pacing around in the front and writing on a chalkboard, and I would be taking notes by hand. That's how I would, you know, be able to process information in a lecture setting most efficiently. And live tweeting it, I wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, I'd be too focused on getting down the what I want to say in 140 characters or less. And then, I mean, you really think, you know, your tweets, I mean, especially if you're an active user of Twitter, you're really going to be using Twitter to look back at your notes on? I mean, I highly doubt that. There's too many distractions there. And while you're focusing on getting these tweets formulated, you're going to be missing parts of the lecture right there. And then being active on this subreddit, again, I think there's a big chance for distraction, and, you know, I mean, it's a mixed bag. I can understand why they are doing this, because with the changing demographics, they're trying, in some cases, I think, trying too hard to connect with younger generations. And I think in a way it's almost, you know, cringeworthy, where you have individuals in an environment of education, of all things, that actually think that, you know, the potential clientele, which it really is, you know, university, you are, you know, enlightening your mind, but you're also giving them a lot of money to do it too, so you really are, you know, clientele, you're the customer, because it's a service, at least here, you know. But they are almost ignorant enough where they say, you know, the clientele, they're young and they're too stupid to be able to figure out how to process a lecture, you know, in the standard means, so we got to do something to connect with them. And I think that's almost insulting in a way. You know, it's like saying, you're too, you know, you're such an idiot, you can't even process a standard lecture anymore, so we got to dumb it down for you. I think that people, especially young people, still are perfectly capable of being able to attend a standard lecture, as it, you know, as always has been, and be able to get a lot from it. I think what's important, though, of course, is to go through experimentation, though, and sometimes trial and error is the best way, and really observe how the students themselves are able to process things like this. I mean, while I myself may hold a more conservative viewpoint in that opinion, might be the wrong one to have. You know, maybe live tweeting of the lectures and, you know, using subreddits for that purpose. And they better hope it's a private subreddit. All you need is someone to do a raid on it, and there you go with that. You know, maybe that's the best way. Maybe that will actually increase participation and get people enthusiastic about it. Though from what I've experienced, sometimes when they try to utilize new technology, it really doesn't work that much, and they seem so enthusiastic, the instructors may appear, that they have this new technology and they think everyone's going to be drooling over it and they're going to be fawning over it, and in the end it ends up causing more problems when people are just used to having things done the old way, and sometimes that's, not always, but sometimes it's still the best way. I mean, my own personal point of view in terms of that is I would prefer a standard lecture. You know, that's it. A standard lecture. That's how I would focus on it best. And in a way, I sometimes exercise that type of control with the channel. You know, when I'm doing my random videos, which are in a way a lecture, maybe more of a monologue, you know, I do it the way I would really teach a course in a sense, where I utilize some multimedia examples, such as the Denny's video and soon the Suit video too, where I would utilize some multimedia pieces, but at the same time I would just give a straight up, you know, down to earth talk with really no bells and whistles. It's just me and you, pretty much, just, having a conversation and, expressing thoughts and views through it. And, that's how I would try to teach a class, of course. There would be more writing involved on my part, of course, and notes and etc. But, I'd like to, if I had to teach something, I would try and give lectures like that, where it would be friendly and conversational, but also try to be informative as well, and try not to make it too boring and monotonous. But I'm not a teacher. I don't have a degree in the field of education, and as a result, I'm not really entirely qualified to speak on that matter. Well, may as well check this, since we're at it. I can talk for a bit more. If you really want to contact me through this way, you can, but I don't encourage it. The YouTube inbox is still there. It's still available. You can still utilize it. If you're not an email person, I understand. But I warn you right now, there have been many, many problems getting messages received or sent, vice versa, through this YouTube message system. I warn you right now, if you want to reach me through that means, it's not guaranteed, and I really cannot guarantee that I will get any messages through that. So that's where that stands. I think I might have 1 or 2 letters. Let's see. I'm just checking, seeing if there are any. I get a lot of spam through that too, but... yeah, here's the one that I wanted to read. Hello. My name is Amy, and my friend Ian and I are huge fans of yours. Ian's 23rd birthday is December 30th, and I would love to surprise him with your presence. I believe the party would be in Kansas City, Missouri, but I'm unsure of when exactly. If you're interested in coming, we could work things out. And then the person left their contact information, phone number, etc. to reach them at. And I get inquiries like that fairly often, where people want me to show up at an event or a birthday party or something like that. And as a general blanket response for all inquiries of that sort, unfortunately, I'm oftentimes rather busy with my own schedule as is. I can't necessarily afford to make flights like that either. And also my own really self, in some ways, prevents me from traveling about in those ways. I always appreciate the kind gestures, but unfortunately, at this point in time, given my resources and etc., it's not something that I can really readily do at this time. But I wish Ian a very, very happy and pleasant 23rd birthday, well in advance, several months so. But I really wish him well, and again, that's just a blanket statement there that, it's just something that isn't really very, very possible at this time. And let's see. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Lots of messages, but nothing really for the VORW show, just people trying to reach out to the channel, If it says to VORW, it'll be more apt to catch my eye. If it's not, then I might skip over it. Let's examine this once more, see how long I'm recording. Alright then. Well, with that, we'll begin wrapping things up. Let's check the statistics, shall we? And let's determine that. See the retention rate. Lots of views, 49,000. But we'll see how many people made it to the end. Let's go to analytics. What was the number of this last show? The one we're addressing now? I forget. 148. So this is 149, so the next show will be the 150th episode. Wow. Crazy, isn't it? Let's see. Okay, 148. Let's check this. This is gonna be fun. Where do I get the retention from again? Something I always lose track of. Okay. Do you remember back when the VORW show used to have like 13% retention at the end? You remember that? This number is going to seem extraordinarily low, but think of it this way. Back when the VORW show was getting around, say, 13% audience retention from start to finish, the amount of views the show would get would be significantly lower. So it might only have 7,000 views. And as a result, it would, equate... I know my mental math isn't the best, and we're just making broad assumptions here, but it would equate to around maybe between 700 and 1,400 people who would listen to the show from start to finish on YouTube. And I understand that people download the show. It's not to be forgotten, but people who listen on YouTube, it's around that number. Now this number is going to seem extraordinarily low, but when you think about it, it's still going to equate to around maybe 1,400, 1,500 people. So that same number of people who might listen regularly to every show are still here and still listening. It's just there are a lot of newcomers who click the video, kind of say, not interested, or just download it, etc. Maybe don't watch the whole thing through, watch it in segments, whatever it might be. And, that's where that stands. So, the retention rate for VORW show number 148. 0 minutes, 0 seconds. The retention rate, of course, 100%. At 30 seconds, it had dropped to 86%. By 2 minutes and 11 seconds, a nice number, 21% were there, so 21 for 211. By 19 minutes, 18% of folks were still tuned in. By 1 hour and 14 minutes, 8.3% were remaining. By 1 hour and 48 minutes, 6.9% were still tuned in. But then it kind of evens off for a while at 2 hours 30 minutes, 6.4% were still tuned in. By 3 hours, 5.3% were tuned in. And by 3 hours and 35 minutes, the end of the program, 4.1% of total listeners were still listening. And the video had received around 49,000 views in that time. So I think it still will go around a little lower, a little more, but around maybe, maybe just a little over 1,000. But still, that's 1,000 people that listen from start to finish, and a great number in my opinion. The folks with the highest view duration, there is no one single country that made it through the entire show from start to finish. But the 3 countries that made it over an hour: Mongolia, listener in Mongolia listened for 1 hour 49 minutes. Jamaica came in second, 1 hour and 34 minutes 17 seconds. And Palestine in third, 1 hour 29 minutes 43 seconds. honorable mentions for 4th, 5th, and 6th, Chile, Thailand, and Oman. The average view duration from the United States, 16 minutes, 35 seconds. And the countries with the lowest view duration, Bahamas, 9 seconds, maybe a vacationer. Macau, I believe that's how it's pronounced, not Macau, Macau. Correct me if I'm wrong, 9 seconds. And Armenia, 10 seconds. So Armenia, they got a good transmitting site, though, they do. The Gavar site. And then the honorable mentions, otherwise at 11 seconds and 17 seconds respectively, Sri Lanka, Albania, and the Northern Mariana Islands. Some shortwave transmitter sites on those islands there for the VOA. Well, I'm done. I'm done for this show. So next I'm going to edit it up and get it up for you. Have a pleasant August, ladies and gentlemen. This is VORW show number 149. Concluded.